So when and how did I start with electronic music? I started experimenting with sound in 1988, but I didn't release anything for many years after the first few experiments. I've always enjoyed music and wanted to make it, but no one I knew how to make the music I heard in my head, so I worked on my own and gave up the idea of having a band. I love Throbbing Grizzle's use of tape loops and noise. I think IBM was my favorite track. I was influenced by bands like Non and Nurse with Wound, but also prog rock experiments and the cinematic music of shows like The Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits. So when I started, I didn't have a synth, and I used mostly guitar effect pedals and old tape players. What are my favorite music styles and artists? I've been a Rush fan for over 30 years. I collect all kinds of noise releases, but overall I listen to a variety of styles of music, from J-pop to electronic to academic. I recently got the new Valerio Tricoli album on Pan, and have been listening to that nonstop. I also came upon Wander Group and have been listening to their full catalog. In the end, I usually turn to old favorites, like Tool for pacing, lyrics, and structure, Rush if I just want to enjoy myself, Pain Jerker Masana if I want great noise, even people here like Keith Whitman and Rich when I want to be reminded what a modular can really do. And I have to say that I'm a fan of lots of music, and the more variety the playlist, the better for me. What was my first electronic musical instrument? I found an EML Electrocomp Model 101 that was being thrown out by a school during their summer break. They didn't think it worked, and I was told if I could make it work or fix it, I could keep it. It was fully functioning. All it needed was a couple of knob turns to make it work, but I had no real idea how to use it to its full potential. I believe I was extremely lucky to find something like this, and for free. I also built effect pedals when I began. I think the first pedal I got was a Rocktiv divider, and I guess that's my first musical instrument. I used to make music the first instrument I really used to make music was a tape loop machine that I had built with the help of an old friend. What is your first modular synth module or slash system? My first module that I purchased was a Plan B vector plotter. I've always loved the EMS synths and their joysticks. I think it's a great way to control synths. I always thought that it would be very interactive to use a joystick in a mix and to affect the sound. So I purchased that module before I even had a case or any way to power it. However, I always consider the EML synth that I found to be my first modular synth. If you would like to have further investment on your modular system, what would it be? I believe some of what I would like hasn't even been created yet. When I see new modules, I look at them and see if they would work with my current idea or setup. I'm focused on generally that idea and thought more than anything, more than the equipment. I could dream about new modules all day long, but what helps me stay focused in my work is the idea in connection with the modules. However, I'm always looking for new gear that will allow me to interact more with the sound. I want to physically affect the sound by pressing a pad or rerouting some voltage. I'm always looking for modules that will help me become more connected to my synth. I would love to purchase a Buchla music easel, but it's a very expensive piece of equipment. I try and change the modular with new ideas and better focus as new gear comes out. I would also like more modules to fit in my travel case, so the smaller the better. There are basics when I look for further investment in my modular system, and that's what I look for the future. What is your expectation on the future of modular synth design? I expect there will be more digital modules using the processing power of Arduino and Raspberry Pi.
That's exactly what
I would like the smaller modules because I'm limited by my travel case, and whatever can fit makes it into the case. As I said before, I hope there are more ways to connect with the modular and connect with the sound in a very physical way. How are electronic music and experimental sound scenes in the US? The scene is interesting and varied. I wish there were more outlets to do the kind of music I do in better venues, but I'm glad to get the chance to perform. I think that the scene becomes too focused on specific artists' use, what specific artists use to create the sound they're experimenting with, and rather than experimenting on their own, people look at what everybody else uses and kind of focus on that. I think the most satisfying path is finding your own way, taking the time to experiment with modules, and even just what you have, because patching it a different way will yield to a different route. There appears to be a lack of patience and curiosity at times, but I'm excited that there are quite a few individuals doing genuinely interesting sounds. What does electronic sound music mean to you? It's a chance to work with sound, to create new spaces. I want to take the listener on a journey. It may be personal or it could be trivial, but the point of working electronic music for me is to make sounds people wonder about and to move the listener's perception from one point to somewhere else. It means working with the freedom to create any sound as long as I find it useful in my work. I've tried to arrange a tour of Hong Kong in 2004, and it was just too expensive for me to fly there, but I was in contact with the band Torturing Nurse, and they were very, very kind and very open to me coming, but the general logistics of traveling, it was just so tough to make any of the money back, and I do this mostly as a very expensive hobby. So there's usually one tour a year, though I would like to get there eventually, and a couple of my friends have talked about it, maybe in the next year, if not next year, maybe the year after. So I hope to make it to Hong Kong.
Thank you.
No, thank you.